Hey guys, Metal Jesus here, and today I am back with a review and some gameplay of me playing this game called Abzu on the Nintendo Switch. Now, recently I showed this game in a pickups video I did with Reggie, and I had to eat crow a little bit because originally when I played this game, when it came out on the PlayStation 4, I was kind of like, meh. I didn't really get it, and I wasn't really blown away by it when I first played it back then. But replaying it recently on the Nintendo Switch, I guess I was in a bit of a different headspace, and I ended up enjoying it just way more than I thought I would. And I think a lot of that comes down to the fact that I kind of knew what I was getting into, and my expectations were at the right level for this game, because essentially, this is not really a traditional game at all. I think most people would probably describe this as kind of like a walking simulator, although in this game, obviously, you don't walk, you swim, but it's the same concept where it's really more about exploration of the environments, telling a story, almost kind of like a living novel is sort of how I describe a game that's a walking simulator. And that's no surprise because it actually comes from people who worked on a game I did really enjoy back in 2012 called Journey. And in that game, it's very similar, where you are this kind of wordless, almost like alien creature that is going through this world. And you're surrounded by these beautiful sights and this kind of like fallen civilization. You're not quite sure what's going on. And you're pretty much just trying to get to the end and sort of see where the story is going to take you. Abzu is very much like that, except for, obviously, it is mostly underwater. Now, obviously, one of the more striking elements of this game is the environment. And that's really key to many of these games, is that the environment has to be really interesting. And I like this one a lot, actually, as you can see that, you are in this beautiful ocean environment, but yet there are also these kind of lost, hidden civilizations that maybe existed a long time ago. So, and I guess actually that leads into the story. So as far as I know, I can talk about this, but you basically wake up, the main character, she wakes up in the ocean, and then you are kind of going through this ocean trying to discover what happened to this ancient civilization. You activate some of the technology to kind of continue your progression. But what you're really doing is you're trying to restore life to the ocean that seems to have been attacked or sometimes extinguished by these big pyramid things that you see here. That's kind of as far as I'm able to get from the story. Now, in my video, or in that discussion with Reggie, I was like, there doesn't seem to be much story. And I had several people post in the comments like, you idiot. Of course there's a story to this. And yes, I guess there is. I mean, very much like Journey, in this game, there are paintings that are left on walls that your character will sometimes see. Actually, towards the end of this video, you'll see that I meditate and I look at some of those. But kind of like Journey, it's sort of open to interpretation. And I'm not the biggest fan of that type of storytelling, I'll be honest with you. I personally like storytellers that tell me a story. They have an idea. Just tell me what you want to tell me. Don't leave it open to interpretation. I know some people enjoy that. Myself, I get frustrated by stuff like that. If you've got a cool story and you are a great storyteller, tell me the damn story. That said, I think if you go into this game with the proper mindset that you can enjoy it as is, and perhaps make up your own story or interpret it how you want, then there is a lot of joy here. It's funny because after the last year and so much uncertainty happening in almost every aspect of our lives, I think a lot of people, myself included, were kind of looking towards games and movies and experiences that might be a little bit more chill, more soothing, less drama, more joy. And this is definitely a game that I think brings that in spades. There is a dark side to this game, it does get really kind of dark at times, but it also is about restoring life to the ocean. And so there is a lot of joy in this game as well. And so there's many aspects to this game, as you can see. And so as I was going back and replaying this essentially, I was interested in replaying the game again, and I thought it was pretty cool to have it on Switch. I was in the right mindset to do so. I knew what I was getting into because I had already played it on PlayStation 4, but it had been a couple years, and so I'd forgotten the details. And, instead of always trying to figure out, like, am I missing something? Is there a hidden thing somewhere that I can't find? I just kind of leaned back, on the couch and just took it all in, and it was surprisingly pleasant. And so that's the cool thing about Journey, obviously, although I think Journey actually has a little bit more going on as far as puzzles go, because it's more of a platforming game than this. There aren't hardly any puzzles in this game, but yeah, I did enjoy it quite a bit. And again, this is not a long game either. It only works as a shorter experience. You can play this game in about an hour and a half to 2 hours, which I think is perfect, right? That's like movie length. You put on your favorite movie or put on some beautiful art film, just kind of kick back, and puts a smile on your face. Another thing that I need to mention about this, and maybe you're able to pick up a little bit on it in the background, beyond the visuals, which I think are stunning, is the music, actually. Again, something I didn't necessarily pick up on or remember when I played it the first time, but playing it again on the Switch, I was like, wow, this has an excellent soundtrack. Like, it's really beautiful, very moving, very emotional soundtrack. So much so, actually, that after I beat this game, I went on to Apple Music and started to listen to it. And I don't always do that with video game soundtracks. I know some people do, but for me, sometimes video game soundtracks are a little hit and miss. But this is one of those where it's really great for the background. Put this on while you're working or while you're chilling out or whatever. And it takes you on a journey. It's actually really cool. I think the only downside to this game would be, other than perhaps expectations, or maybe you're just not into this kind of game, is the frame rate on the Nintendo Switch. You can kind of see it in some of the footage here where there's a lot going on. Now, my Elgato is capturing this game at 1080p and 60 frames a second, but the game does definitely dip in frame rate when a lot is going on. That is simply, I assume, probably because of the lack of power of the Nintendo Switch. I think ultimately, though, it actually is a pretty decent version of it. But I would say, I guess I'd have a hard time recommending this version over, say, the full console version or the PC version, unless you just want it on handheld. And that's actually why I got this version of it, because I was like, ooh, they've got a handheld version. That's pretty cool. That's why I like collecting games on the Switch. But as far as performance goes and fidelity, you probably want to play this game on the PlayStation 4 first, or like I said, I assume it's probably also on PC. But the Switch isn't bad. You guys are looking at the footage here. I mean, for the most part, 99% of the time, it actually looks really good or runs really good. It just has those occasional dips. So overall, my review and feeling of Abzu has definitely changed over the years. And I guess I kind of feel bad. I never really like to trash a game or dislike a game, simply because I know how much work goes into these things, and I can tell when something is a labor of love. But I also have to be honest with my audience, and sometimes I don't necessarily love things as much as I would expect. And I guess that's kind of the interesting thing about this game, is I've kind of gone full circle. I don't know if that has something to do with the fact that I'd already played it and my expectations were in check, or I just happened to be in the mood one Sunday afternoon. You know how it is, where you're just sitting around and you can't really go outside. You're just sort of down in the game room chilling, and you're like, let's play some of this. And sure enough, hours just fly by, and you leave the game with a huge smile on your face. And so I should also probably mention, though, that this footage is about, I think, I think we're at the hour mark at this point in the game, so not too many spoilers. There is some really interesting stuff that happens in this game, and I do encourage you to explore it yourself. There are some really cool surprises, and like I said, for such a beautiful game, there are moments in here too where it's actually pretty dark. You're just like, what the heck is going on here? By the way, one of the interesting things about this game too is that it has these moments, and you see it right here, where you can meditate for some reason. And when you do that, then your camera follows the different types of fish and things that are floating in the water. And so you saw that right there where I was moving around between eels and other things. Not entirely sure, again, why that is in the game. That's one of those things that kind of mystifies me, but then also now I'm like, well, maybe you're just expected to just kind of take it all in and enjoy it for what it is, and that is kind of interesting to me. It's an example of developers using games more than just for shooting or, you know, score, but again, more as art pieces or even like mental health or just to chill out. You know, it's pretty interesting. So I guess I do appreciate that when I see it. I like how developers take chances with this sort of stuff. We're at that part with the technology where they can do things that you may not expect. Speaking of which, you see me here approaching one of the mechanical pyramids. That indicates the end of a level. So anyways, guys, I hope you enjoyed this little review and me looking back playing Abzu. If you haven't checked out this game and it seems like something you might be interested, definitely do that. And as always, guys, I want to thank you for watching my channel. Thank you for subscribing, and take care.